Farm Bill. When we go through it, you're going to find out there's not a whole lot new. We don't have all the nuts and bolts to it yet. It gets signed in December, and then it has from December, Congress is done with it, to now at least with USDA in Washington to figure out the nuts and bolts and the little things that matter at my level or our level. So there's still some things that we don't know yet. Ark County PLC, we all went through this 4 or 5 years ago. We're going to go through it again. There's very little changes to it. The last time when you did this, you had to make a decision, a one-time decision for 5 years on the farm, which option you would take. This time it's going to be a little different in that when we finally sign up for this in maybe September, October, you're going to sign up for 2019 and 2020 at the same time. And then that decision, which option is stuck for those 2 years. Then after that, you can see here that after that, you're going to do it each year, 21, 22, 23. You can go back and forth and do what you want. For wheat guys in 2019, that should be a little bit of a help in that you're going to sign up in October. And so you should already have an idea, first off, what the yields were in the county. And second off, maybe a pretty good idea of what the price of wheat's going to be for the year. With the PLC option, it's all about price and price only. For wheat, that's going to stay the same at $5.50. I didn't bring with me the other crop prices. Again, that $5.50 is a national price, and that's a national price for all wheat. The wheat that you have here is probably the low-end. Hard red winter is probably the cheapest compared to soft wheats and durums. And anyway, when you're thinking of price, it's not this national price isn't going to be like it is at the elevator year round, because again, our wheat's different. They supposedly, when they figure these prices, they use a weighted marketing average, so they supposedly give more weight to more bushels that are sold. It's not just an average monthly price that fuels into a yearly price. It's supposed to be weighted. Anyway, the wheat that stays the same at $5.50. One of the bigger changes is, and this has been debated in the last 2 or 3 farm bills, is the idea of we're still making government payments on grass, so to speak. There's a lot of farms, especially in western Oklahoma, that have an old wheat base, and we're paying on that wheat base. And they planted it back to Bermuda, in the case of western Oklahoma, Old World Blue Stem. But it still carries a crop acreage base on it and a yield, even though it's in grass. And this time they finally have addressed it, and for 2009 to 2017, if that farm has not had any acre planted of any crop, it's just grass or fallow, then they're going to make it ineligible for Ark County or PLC. And when I talk about a farm, I talk about our farm in the office, our administrative farm, which may include one tract or it could include multiple tracts. Any 1 acre planted to something else keeps it eligible for our PLC. And I think the last time when you had B in here, maybe you guys talked about a grassland initiative program, $18 an acre. Well, that's what they come up with for these farms that fall under this that have had grass for 10 years. And what you don't see, or what nobody talks about, is NRCS is going to do that program, and they're going to pay the $18 an acre. But we're the ones that's going to decide whether or not it's eligible. And the problem that you don't ever see is one of our requirements is from 2009 to 2017, you had to have an acreage report every year. You had to have an acreage report every year that said this is grass, this is native Bermuda, whatever it is. If you missed a year in that 9 or 10 years, then it's not eligible yet for their program. Now, through the life of this farm bill, they're going to save those farms' crop bases. It almost looks like it's a phase-out way for the next farm bill. There won't be anything. The $18 an acre is not so bad. In some cases, it might be better than Ark County PLC through the life of the farm bill. But it's not everybody's eligible. Just missing 1 year of an acreage report could mess you up. And in this case, in this county, I think farm numbers changed through the years when they changed leases and changed ownership. I think in this county, we come up with 90 of these. So there's 90 farms that fall under this that aren't going to be eligible for ARC PLC. And then maybe most of them will be eligible for the Grass Initiative Program of $18. Over the life of the farm bill, $18 might be a better deal. You sure expect corn prices to be high at least this year. Wheat's not that much lower than the 550. But anyway, that's one of the bigger changes. Again, with ARC County PLC, you're going to make a 2-year decision, then you're going to make an every year decision. The dairy program, you guys may not care much about the dairy program. It's only changed in that they figured out a way to try to pay more. The government's going to pay more assistance. The way that works is the government comes up with a monthly milk price, and then they come up with a monthly feed price. And they look at the difference between your 100-weight milk price and your average feed cost each month. And they try to determine what the margin is between those two prices. They use a alfalfa and a corn equivalent to figure out what the feed cost is nationwide. But anyway, it's by month. And now your dairy farmers used to have this program for like a $4 difference. Now they can go up to a $9. And used to it was just a $100 administrative fee. Now it's going to be treated just like an insurance program. They're going to have I don't know if you call them steep premiums or not, but definite real premiums, and they get to pick their margins where they want, just how much insurance they want to have, how much premium they want to pay. You have, I believe it is 8 dairies left in this county, not counting Brahms. Brahms is too big to play with us, so we don't have anything to do with Brahms, but I think you've got 8 left. In 2011, you had 18. It's either 7 or 8 that's left. Anyway, this is one of those programs that you'll get 100%. There's not that many dairies left, but 100% will play with the government, so to speak, because this is about the only thing they have that's similar to a government program. CRP, you got very little of that here. They're still going to take a few acres. You have to wait on the sign up each year to see what the cropping history requirements are. The normal practice is still putting cropland to grass. You got to wait till it's we may have to sign up in December maybe, and you'll have to see how many years somebody had to farm something to get it eligible to put to grass. We cost share to put it to grass for the 10-year rental payment. It hasn't been that big a deal here because we don't have much control over the rental rates and what the government payment is to pay you for an acre of grass. And you don't have any control over it. It's based on your soil type. So we get handed to us soil types and a price per soil type, and we look at 3 predominant soils, and that's how we determine what your payment to be. And in most cases, those haven't really kept up with cash rents. And so really it hasn't looked that good to anybody unless you're somebody just wanting to retire and keep the place and not do any farming. A lot of those soil types are still in the 30s, $35 an acre. A lot of people don't want to give it up for that. Some still think they can rent it for more than 40. But again, it depends on your soil type. Anyway, we only have like 10 of those contracts in Grady County. Your market assistance loans will stay mostly the same. You can still get a commodity loan from us. Once your crop is harvested, you're wanting to wait to sell it. They're low interest loans. In most cases, they're 9-month loans. In the case of cotton, cotton is less than that. We do cotton loans each year. The only problem with the cotton loans are that we estimate, once you've harvested your cotton, we estimate how much lint's out there, depending on how many round bales you have or how many modules. And we're going to base your loan off of what we expect you to have for lint. Then you're going to wait to gin it, and then be able to gin the cotton, have it available to sell. Then you're going to sell the cotton and pay us off. The problem with these loans has been that they sometimes have a March 31 ending date. It's March, anyway, we're not getting it ginned before the loans due. And so hopefully they're going to change some of those dates, or maybe the Jenny gets caught up. One of the two. But this has been the only time that I've seen a government loan expire with no extension and the government just not doing anything about it. Didn't change the rules, didn't change the date, just let it, no late fees, just turn the head and look the other way. It's the only time I've ever seen that. But anyway, we have had a hard time getting cotton gin on time. The non-assured assistance program, which we call NAP, is basically the same. They have decided to make the premiums higher. That's always been $250 per crop. It's now going to be $325 per crop. NAP is still really good in this part of the world for grazing crops, either wheat pasture or grass pasture. $325 covers all the acres of the crop. It's kind of a no-brainer for guys that are bigger. Guys that have 1,000 acres or something or more, it costs them the same as somebody with 100 acres if they want to buy it. It's a cheap coverage, but for $325 and very many acres, you get less than $1 an acre coverage for something. It is available for all the other crops that federal crop insurance doesn't insure. And here, all the other crops that we have, other than that, is really alfalfa. We have several alfalfa policies. You can't pay an extra premium for the grazing crops, but with crops like alfalfa, you do have the option of buying up coverage, buy up coverage that costs a premium, and we don't have any of that, but that is available, but not on wheat pasture or grass pasture. Farm loan programs stay the same except for lending limits. All the lending limits have pretty much increased with this farm bill. Your maximum operating direct loan used to be $300,000. That's now $400,000. To buy a farm, your farm ownership loan, that max used to be $300,000, and now that is $600,000. The guaranteed limits have also gone up, I think, from $1.5 million to $1.75 million, and those are guaranteed loans that you take the loan with the bank, then the government guarantees the loan up to 90%. So you get all the government paperwork to go along with it. Some of the little smaller loans have changed, but anyway, those are big limits that have changed and all changed higher. Disaster programs, the one we have today, a lot of these have stayed the same. We have what we call ELAP. ELAP is Emergency Livestock Assistance Program. And for this part of the world, it really includes two things, especially lately here with floods. ELAP pays for flooded pastures. You've got a river or creek that gets out, it floods a pasture, you've got to pull the cattle off for so many days. You lose that pasture for 30, 60 days. With this program, it's up to 150. You can't go past that. Then they have a payment rate per cow that they think it cost you, what you lost with that pasture. When this happens, you've got 30 days to tell us, or 30 days to apply. And so we've tried to advertise that some with email and radio today. But they've got 30 days. Again, it's really flood and not excessive moisture. But if guys have pastures that have been flooded and they've had to get off and not use them, we have a program for that. Now, used to in the other farm bill, that was a $20 million a year nationwide pot, so to speak. And the nation always ran out of 20 million, and so you would apply, wait for months and months, everything goes to Washington, comes back down, and we needed 40 million, we only had 20, so everybody gets factored. But that's not the case anymore. This has an open top, it doesn't have a budget. So when you apply, we can tell you what that's, and it's all about, in the case of Bermuda grass, 3.3 acres per cow. And then we're going to take that cow, and I think the payment rate this year is 60 cents a day per cow, forever how many days you say you've lost that pasture. Depending on the pasture and how many days, it could add up to a little bit. But again, that's got a requirement that you let us know within 30 days. The other part of this program around today, with what we're dealing with today, is flooded feed, so to speak, and it's got to be mechanically harvested. So we're talking about hay. Hay bales that float down the creek, hay bales that are left in the field are stacked at the edge of the field. The river or the creek gets out on them, gets up so high, we kind of consider those ruined, or I do at least, if it, depending on what the water level is on the hay. Then the county committee establishes a price per ton with whatever type of hay that is, and they try to pay on around 60% of that value. But that's something else again that you've got to tell us in time within 30 days.
Where does that 30 days start?
We're pretty lenient on that. I can't go back and probably somewhere around May 25th. If you want me to give you a day.
Okay, I'm just saying, that, the first flood, the second flood.
But you're going to tell us, and we're going to get you into 30 if you're anywhere close. But I'd call it the first one.
What if you had a standing crop of alfalfa out there? I got pictures of it where it was just all, and it's brown, where the roots got out. It killed it. Okay. Is there help on that situation?
Only through NAP. This one that I'm talking about, it has to be a feed, mechanically harvested feed. And then we're going to get into wheat hay, and whether I wanted to bale it or not this year, whether I want to leave it in the windrow, it's not a good answer that you're going, but it's got to be mechanically harvested. And then even your wheat hay, if you've got a NAP policy for that, we're going to judge you on tons. It has nothing to do with quality. And it has to do with mechanically harvested, and those bales are still going to weigh something, and that's all going to count against you. With NAP and alfalfa, if you have a NAP policy for alfalfa, what we're going to ask you to do for that is to come in and file a notice of loss. That means you put us on notice. I've got a loss. I don't know how much yet. I've got so many acres I know that aren't coming back. You put us on notice that I had excessive moisture and a loss, and then at the end of the year, you're going to walk in with all your tickets and your receipts and your weight tickets, and then we're going to see if you had a loss. So, in other words, your drowned out acres may not count for anything if the rest of the acres make enough hay. But for ELAP, it's got to be a grazing crop that you lost. I know we've got a lot of acres of wheat that were grazed out, and the river or creeks got out on wheat grazed out on May 25th. But they won't consider that worth anything because here the wheat graze out season ends May 15th. So I know a lot of people use crabgrass and Johnson grass after wheat, and it's been underwater. The acres reported as wheat grazed out won't make it. So it really gets back to your perennial grass pastures. And we should have some of that. There should be some of that out there. Maybe it's not that many days, but I know it's probably a bigger deal this year with the Ouachita River and Caddo than it is Grady. But there's a lot of acres that are still brown that have had water standing for quite a while. The other part of this program is the livestock indemnity program. This is where we pay on livestock deaths. That for sure has a 30-day notice. You have to tell us within 30 days. The only problem with this one is they're pretty tough on us on verifiable versus reliable. How did they die? What proof do we have that they're dead? That's been a tough call for us. We have what we call a normal mortality rate. So let's say in the case of cows, beef cows, the state says that normally you're going to lose 2% a year. So you've got a 2% normal mortality. You had a flood and you lost 5 cows. So then the government's going to, so you're eligible for the 5 cows, minus your 2% mortality out of 100. So we're going to take away 2 that's more or less free, and the next 3 we're going to pay for. And they have a decent payment rate of 60 or 70% of your 60% of the value of that cow, which gets around to be $900 something or so this year. So that payment's worthwhile after we get past the first 2%. But again, it sure does have as a requirement to show us proof of death. We still have a livestock forage program. It's more or less the same as it's been. I think from 2011 to 2018, this county maybe missed out on 1 year of drought. I can't remember which year it is. I know 11 through 15, we had it. We had wheat pasture in 18, and either 16 or 17, we missed out 1 year. And that program is still completely dependent upon the drought monitor. We don't have any say-so in it. Of course, the drought monitor today from Oklahoma is all white. There's no drought, but that's what has to trigger this program. It's still set up the same. It still has a stocking rate for your different pastures. It's still trying to pay on 60% of your feed cost. It has like a corn equivalent to it that each year nationally they try to figure out what that corn's worth, and that has to do with your payment, the severity of the drought, and what the corn cost is. You know, you don't go out and feed your cow 26 pounds of corn a day, but I think that's still how they judge the cost on the feed side versus the pasture side. But it still stays the same. But it's been, of course, it's been pretty lucrative program around here, being eligible every year but one. And this county has, when grass and everything's eligible, you have as many applications in this county as you do any other county in the state except for Caddo. They're not all big applications, but as far as number of applications and our workload, this one's really only second to Caddo. And that gets to here 700 and something applications a year. So you've got 700 and something people out there, big or small. It usually brings them all in. That's mainly it. There's not that many changes. Yes, wildfire, and that policy covers wildfire. I think the livestock forage program really just covers wildfire on federal lands, which we really don't have here. BIA land doesn't count. School land doesn't count. That's more out west. Livestock forage program still is, it's about that drought monitor only. And then we have other disaster stuff. If a wildfire happens, we do have a program where we can rebuild fences. Rehabilitating grass, there's really nothing, but if we get to the emergency conservation program, we can cost share to rebuild the fences. One nice thing about that program is we used to have to judge how old that fence was, and it couldn't be over 30 years old. When we go out there to look at after the fire, that was a component of the program. I had a 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 20 to 30 year, and then anything over 30 years, it was all wooden posts, and even, you know, there's T-posts out there that are 30 years old. But we've done away with that now, so we don't have to. We used to call them 30 or less, but now we have one rate. It doesn't matter, under 30, and we move on. That wasn't always a fair judgment call, because it made a difference in your payment, how old it was. That program is available in the county when we ask for it. We haven't asked for it this year, not because of fire and fence, but it's also available for flooding. We haven't asked for it because we haven't had that many calls on actual flooding that has taken out fences, and it has the minimum money requirement of at least $1,000 cost share, so it doesn't cover water gaps. But it can include replacing a fence that's flooded out, or cleaning up the debris from the wood debris, get it off the fence, replace the fence. That program also can be used to get a bulldozer to push silt back off. I think the rule is you're still not supposed to put it back in the waterway. I know that everybody does, but we haven't asked for that yet because we haven't really had any calls for it, but that's something that can happen for more flooding disasters.
Is there a time limit on the fencing for flooding?
Once we have the program and we get you approved, there's usually a time limit of 6 months. You can request an extension if something's going on since, can't find a fence builder or whatever, but
Even if the fence has already been rebuilt?
that program, the county committee has the ability to normally you don't ever start a practice unless we approve you. With that program, the county committee can say it was an emergency, you had to hurry up, put the fence back, and we can still make that eligible.
But you don't have the correct.
We don't have it today, no.
So cleaning up debris on the river, you're saying that's potentially eligible, but you don't have the program yet?
Right. It would have to be over that minimum cost, and it has to be a flood, you know, the flooded debris that has to be picked back up. It doesn't have to take out a fence.
So you need to make an application, even though the program's not there, so.
Normally on that, what we do is we wait on calls, and the county committee makes a decision on how many, whether or not to request it, whether or not there's enough demand for it, so to speak. There's no set number of people or acres. Then you send it in, you ask for approval.
On the indemnity program, you mentioned cows, what about loss of calves?
I just mentioned calves, but calves are included.
Okay.
We have different weight ranges, 0 to 5, a 5 to 800. Bulls are different, cows are different.
Okay.
But
So they're
yes,
all covered.
they're all covered, different mortality rates. The calves will be bigger mortality rate, but there's a different payment rate for each one of those. This is early. Surely somebody had a combine they wanted to go blow out and grease today, thinking they're gonna combine this afternoon before it rains again.